This is 40K Today. Good news. If you're listening to this, we won't have to notify the ecclesiarchy of potential heresy. You're okay. Carry on, citizen.
Welcome to another edition of 40K Today. This is your daily news, views, and interviews show all about the hobby of Warhammer 40,000. I'm your host, John Damaris, and today is July 14th. Happy Dresden Files Day, everyone. I believe it releases today. I'll be checking the book out and give you a book report probably in about 24 hours. Anyway, today, Nick Nanavati gives us a sneak peek at the winners and losers after the points were revealed today. And Tanya gives us a great hobby tip for getting your army back on the table. Some news before we get started. There's some somber news. Cold Open Stories is on hold for a bit. The man behind it, Colin, is dealing with a little grimdark in his own life, and we here at 40K Today want to wish him the absolute best and hope that Cold Open Stories gets back on track soon. If you guys want to reach out and give him some support, I think that would be appropriate. So please do. He's a good guy that's doing good things for the community. Points are now starting to become available as the preview embargo on Chapter Approve is now over and the fun begins. We all get to go on our quest to find out what we like in the new edition. Also, GW has released a new fact for 9th edition. We have John Lennon on tomorrow to go over those changes. But today, we're going to talk with Nick Nanavati. 9th edition is pulling to the station, and the hype train is real. Nick Nanavati, one of the most accomplished 40K players in history, stops by to talk about early predictions of winners and losers in 9th edition, at least to start. Nick Nanavati, the man, the myth, the legend, or as Nurgle Matt says, Nick Nanavati. Welcome back.
I was about to correct you, John.
Welcome back to the podcast. So it is 40K Christmas, right? We got some point value previews, so we have a better picture of what the 9th edition meta, where it's going to start, right? We obviously have some releases to come. We have new models coming out, and so things are going to get shook up. And we don't know all the point values and probably haven't had time to digest it. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about where you think the meta is going to be. Like, what kind of, who do you think is going to be at the top? Let's just give me your top 3 factions.
Sure. I mean, it's all premature because we've not played any games. We've had the rules or the points for maybe like hours at this point at the time of recording. But I do think Custodes made out like bandits. They basically didn't see any real points increases at all, whereas most other factions definitely did.
I was just going to say, so addition by subtraction. Everything else getting more expensive means relatively they're less expensive than they were in 8th edition.
Yeah, and Custodes had a really great Psychic Awakening, and then some of their like natural predators got hit especially hard, like Eldar, for example. So they just found themselves nicely at this moment in time. I think Death Guard had a phenomenal Psychic Awakening. Like if you asked me literally yesterday what was the best army in the game, without hesitation, I would have said Death Guard. They got hit. Don't get me wrong. I played a list last week in the War Room in one of our coaching matches with Death Guard. That list, I counted it up today, was 2,300 points. It was 2,301. So they did get hit, but not all of them got hit. Like the Terminator-based list barely got touched. A lot of their elite characters, which give them a lot of support and power, they didn't really get touched at all. So there's still a lot of viable builds to be found in that Death Guard book that I think are going to be really good. For third best, I'm not sure. There's a lot of options here, and I'm not convinced like it's like Death Guard and Custodes are like going to run away with the game, and then everything else is like below that. Space Marines are definitely in the conversation. Sisters got made out fairly well, although they did lose a lot of their dynamicness with Seraph and Zephyr both getting hit. Harlequins, Skyrovers got hit pretty hard, but other than that, very minor.
Admech. I think Admech should be in the conversation because they also had a very good Psychic Awakening and they're very powerful.
Definitely. I don't know where Admech fell. They were phenomenal before this point stuff, but a lot of their stuff did get hit really hard, and their FAQ wasn't the kindest to them. Things like all their exploding 6s triggers are now on modifiable 6s, which is great, but it means you can't stack those hit modifiers to get like exploding 5s on Tesla, exploding 4s on your Tesla shots, that kind of stuff. So all said and done, I'm not sure where they're going to land. Their pony people, the Cebrix Raiders, are still like the best screed in the game, and they didn't go up too high in cost. So I think you'll still see Admech doing really well.
Let's talk about that interaction really quick, because I think people need to be prepared specifically for that, because they're going to get absolutely abused by those things, right?
Yeah.
So what do those things do that's so broken, and what makes them such a good screen?
So they're not expensive, which is fundamentally important to being a good screen. They're cheap and they're fast, which is the bread and the butter of being good screens. But what makes them so awesome is, one, they're relatively hard to kill. They're not like unkillable or anything, don't get me wrong, but they have 3 wounds each. at toughness 3, and with Shroud Psalm, which you'll pretty much always have up if you're playing Mars because you get better canicals, they always have covers with all the 3-up save functionally unless you have Norse cover. So that's really annoying. 3 wounds each and a 3-up save. Toughness 3 isn't great. You're going to be taking a lot of saves if someone's trying to focus fire you down. But like the multi-wound aspect makes you want to throw things like las cannons out on or those damage 3 thunder hammers, that kind of stuff. But you don't want to waste quality shots into this. There's also tanks to shoot at. Like bolter fire, while it's effective versus toughness 3, very ineffective versus 3-up armor and 3 wounds per model. It's hard to see return on investment there. So they're a very awkward profile to shoot at. And for close combat, this is the real stickler. They have a strat for 2 CP, so at least it's not free. Right before you charge them, instead of firing Overwatch, they can make a move or fall back. So even if you're engaged with something, they can just leave. And this is a full move. I believe it's an advance also. They can go wherever the hell they want. And what this allows them to do is if you're trying to charge like them plus something else, they can now just go 2d6 off into the distance. Or not 2d6. They can just go off into the distance. And you fail your charge. You have to actually be able to reach them now with 9th edition. So it doesn't matter that you're going to charge something right next to you because you declared them. It's really annoying. So these things are really good frontline screens because you basically make your frontline functionally unchargeable. So it's just a really annoying unit to play around.
Yeah, because what happens is you declare your charge and say you're 3 inches from these guys. They move 12. They're now 15 inches away. You can't roll a 15 on 2 dice.
Right.
I mean,
or even more, like you declare 2 units like right next to each other. And one of them have the ponies. Like you can really screw yourself up here. So this is kind of abstract, but imagine you're trying to do multiple charges. Like, okay, I'm going to have 1 unit charge these ponies. I know they're going to leave, but then I'll have my other unit charge this other squad, no problem. Well, what they can do is actually you declare your charge on those ponies, they leave, and then move block your other squad. They can just move and now screw up the rest of your charges because when your opponent is moving in the middle of your turn, it's very hard to plan things.
Yeah. Yep. And so, I just wanted people to be aware. So I guess in summary, what we're saying is Death Guard is very good. Custodes seems to be pretty good. AdMech is pretty good. Space Marines is pretty good. Fallers, I think Tau is kind of fallen off a little bit.
Yeah, Tau got hit pretty hard. I'm shocked they didn't give Tau a mechanism to fall back and shoot. That's been a staple of how they function forever. And I thought target locks, which were currently, or as of yesterday, useless. They don't allow you. They give you move and shoot heavy weapons without penalty, and like Riptides do that already. So they were redundant. I thought that would be a nice transition into something like fall back and shoot, but they don't. So Tau's just that with the drones going to 15 points each. They're rough. Tyranids got hit super hard. Dark Eldar got hit pretty hard. I don't know why Tyranids and Dark Eldar got hit so hard, but they did.
Xeno scum.
Xeno scum. It's the non-Imperium tax you have to pay in this game.
Yeah. So Fallers, I mean, Eldar in general, I feel like is sort of falling off a little in 9th edition. We'll see. There's the nice thing is that keyword has got a lot of units in it, so I'm sure people will find a way. Right.
Well, I'm actually playing Eldar this week on our Twitch stream at 6 p.m. Eastern time, and I'll be playing against Siegs' Tau. But I think the Eldar have some hidden gems. I've been messing around with Dire Avengers and Ozherman for the past few months now to great effect. They barely got touched. Dire Avengers went up 2 points. No big deal there. So I'm still very excited about that playstyle.
Very cool. All right. Well, there you have it, folks. 9th edition looks to be very exciting, and we're getting ready for it. Nick is lucky enough to live with 3 of the best players on the planet, and they have been playing a ton of games and experimenting with all kinds of armies. If you want to see what they're doing, go ahead and check them out on the AOW 40K Twitch stream. Today's episode of 40K Today is brought to you by Frontline Gaming. Frontline Gaming is a one-stop shop for all your Warhammer hobby needs, discounted products, American-made gaming mats and terrain, and a full line of miniatures painting service and daily hobby content. And this can all be found at frontlinegaming.org. And welcome back. Hopefully all of you are a lot more diligent than I've been in getting ready for 9th edition, getting your models all painted up and ready to go. If you haven't, have no fear. We have the wonderful Tanya Gates, otherwise known as the War Mistress, stopping by to give us some hobby tips on getting your army ready for 9th edition or doing a new army. Tanya, thanks so much for giving us some time to give us a hobby tip this week. I don't know if people know you as our social media guru and interviewing superstar, but most of them, or a lot of them probably know this, but you're actually a very accomplished painter and do a lot on Instagram and have a pretty large following. So I thought we would get some hobby tips especially around the idea that there's a lot of new players that are coming into the game, and getting an army painted can be a little intimidating. Do you have some tips that you could break down? Maybe your top 3 things for them to think about as they sort of make their plan?
For sure. So the first thing that I like to do when I'm starting a new army, because I will be starting a new army, so I'm starting this part first, is I like to have a vague idea of the color scheme that I'm going to be going for. So I got an amazing pink paint that I really love, and that's going to be like my main sort of accent color. That's going to be like the standout piece. And then once I have that sort of like showstopper piece, then I like to pick out like a neutral tone that kind of complements it. So I'm going to be painting Necrons, obviously. So I have my amazing pink, and I think that it's going to look really great with Warp Block Bronze, which is a Citadel color. And then after that, which is a metallic as well. And then from there, I will play around with it, and then I'll go into my next step, which is to do a entire unit of troops. Um, I like to play around with troops because in general, you're going to need lots of them and they're probably going to die really fast. So if they don't look great, it doesn't really matter. You're not painting a mod like a HQ unit first, something that's more expensive. It's going to be on the table longer. So that first unit of troops is like my play unit. It's where I can experiment a little bit. I take those first ideas that I'm building now, and then I can add in, my shades, any other sort of accenting or highlighting colors, and I can really solidify what I'm going to do in that unit.
That sounds amazing. So basically, you are starting with your favorite color, I would say, right? And then picking something that will accentuate that,
Yep.
and then starting with a unit, right? And then using that to sort of build up from there, and then kind of you can make decisions based on how things are going, or how you think it looks, and sort of experiment. Because, like you said, if you screw up on a trooper model, you don't really care. It
There's
doesn't
more
really
where
matter.
that came from.
Yep.
Yeah.
More meat for the meat grinder. Is that how that works?
Exactly. And then from there, once I have my color scheme solidified in that one troop unit, and I'm like, yeah, that looks awesome. I know exactly where I'm going to go from here. Then I base coat and wash the entire army. Now, there's 2 reasons why I do this. This makes it technically tabletop ready so that I can go to events with it. I can take it down to the game store, and it's not gray plastic. It's good enough to get on the tabletop, and I feel awesome about it. And then once that's all done, then I can slowly pick away at it, add highlights, bring it up to above tabletop standard.
Oh, so you take and you sort of like, let's just say, for example, you planned out a 2,000 point list for your sort of starter army.
Yep.
You would, like we talked about before, pick out your plan for your colors, and then you would paint it all just as a base coat, a wash, right?
Yep.
And that's it. And then just do your basing, and then you would go back and do highlighting as you had time. But then you would have this army to play with, and you could just improve it, right? As you
Exactly.
went along. Okay,
Exactly.
that's really smart.
Yeah, because I do like to go. I play a lot at the game store when it reopens, and I do the odd tournament here and there. So it means that I don't have to stress out so much about painting everything in like the 2 weeks between tournaments or whatever. I can just sort of take my time and really make my models look great.
Right. And then once you have that, wherever your starting point is, some people will start with 500 points. Some people will start with a tournament competitive army, right, at 2,000 points. Then you just add things piecemeal that you like, right? You're like, oh, I want to play this particular model. Maybe it's a new tank, or a monolith, something like that. And so
Exactly.
you can paint that in and sort of not make it into a big deal. And then as your painting skill improves, you can go back over models and do better highlights, pick out more detail, give it some special flourishes. And, especially if it's like a character model or something and you really want it to pop, well, then you can take that time and just continue to like make a showpiece for your army. I think that's really cool.
Exactly. And the benefit of doing it this way too is, like you said, as you play test your list and you find holes in it or it's lacking something that you want, it's really easy just to add in a unit or two as you go. And then again, just base coat and wash it, get it on the table, try it out, and then add it to the queue of things you want to just highlight as you go.
That's awesome. Well, thanks, Tanya. I think that's really, really good advice. And hopefully that'll give everybody a plan for getting their models painted so they get those 10 painting points, right?
Oh, yeah.
Great tips from Tanya. If you want more great content like this, make sure you follow her on Instagram. Ooh, it's that special time of the show. It's time for Model of the Day.
It's the model of the day, the model of the day, the model of the day.
Every day on the show, we do what we call the Model of the Day. And this week's Model of the Day is actually a listener-submitted model. It's pretty cool. Hank has painted up his Marines as celebrants. The interesting fade from red to yellow is unique to this Legion. A clever choice of blue on the purity seals and banner adds some contrast, and pops of white brighten everything out. It's a pretty cool model, and if you have models that you're proud of and you'd like to be featured on this show, use our hashtag over on Instagram, hashtag 40K Today, or hit us up on Facebook. We'd be glad to showcase your work. And that's all we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Special thanks to our content producer, Alex Boehner, and our social media superstar, Tanya Gates, and our technical producer, Seamus Ronan, for all their hard work once again in putting this program together. If you'd like to support the show, tell one friend about it and help us spread the good word. We would very much appreciate it. We'll see y'all tomorrow. Until then, for the 40K Today team, I'm John Damaris, and that's what's happening in 40K Today.